Hi, my name is Michael Bruin, and I'm going to be telling you a story about my vacation that I took to the Gulf Coast. So, 3 years ago, when the summer, sorry for that, in Minnesota was extremely disgusting. It was wet, rainy, and cold all summer long. My friend and I decided to take an epic journey, and I say it that way because we decided that it was going to be a good idea to take a Greyhound bus from Bemidji, Minnesota to the other end of the country to Mobile, Alabama. Now, this was supposed to be 36 hours down, and then it was a 42-hour trip back. Our trip down ended up taking a little over 48 hours because of layovers and problems with buses and buses not starting when they're supposed to in certain cities and time limits and so on and so forth. By the time we arrived in the Gulf Coast, we left in the morning and we got there 2 days later in the morning. At sunrise, we got off the bus, so we bundled up in Minnesota with sweatshirts and sweatpants and jeans to ride on these cold buses all the way across the nation. We get there, and the second the sun creases the horizon and comes over, 95 degrees. Needless to say, we're in the back of the Jeep, stripping, trying to not overheat in this weather that we are not acclimated to at all. Well, we end up getting to our friend's house, and then he drops the ball on us that not only when we were on our way to visit him did something bad happen to us with bus layovers and everything happened, he had a bad thing happen to him and his dad. There was a falling out between their landlord, who was also his dad's girlfriend at the time, meaning that while we were en route to Alabama, our place that we were staying at for 21 days disappeared. So our first day and a half spent on vacation was spent carrying washers and dryers an entire street block in a housing development. Now, I that's not really much of a vacation, most people could say, in a story, but I had a lot of fun, and we went down around the time of 4th of July. And up here, 4th of July is almost gets mundane at this point. It's the same every year, whether they launch them off from Nymore Beach or Diamond Point Park or over by the Sanford Center now over Lake Bemidji. It's all kind of the same. The finale is about the same level of excitement, same flow through the fireworks. Everything's pretty mundane at this point in life after seeing them in a small town this many times. Well, down there is a place called the Happy Shack, which is kind of like a hippie surf shop, which is down on the beach, a novelty shop for tourists. Well, went to the bay to watch the fireworks, where they actually pull out a garbage barge, one of the huge barges that's like 100 feet long, and you can see it barely out in the bay, like it's almost as far out that you can, it's hard to see, and that barge is full of fireworks. They had things that I've never seen before. Like, they explode into the shape of a smiley face and stars and every color imaginable. But the Happy Shack, going back to that, gave everyone on the beach 3D glasses. They just walked around and handed them out. So not only were you seeing fireworks across the sky, you were seeing them reflected in the water, and everything was 3D over the crashing waves of the ocean. Excuse me. Never have I seen a display to that level, and I don't think I probably ever will again unless I go somewhere like New York City and watch, the New Year's ball fall or something along those levels. But the fireworks on the Gulf Coast Bay are amazing. They can be seen, for so many miles 'cause it's so open that from where we were in the Panhandle, we could see fireworks from the Pensacola area going up and all over down there because they don't have the same laws for fireworks like Minnesota does. It was the best 4th of July that I've experienced, and it was one that I experienced, with just my friends. I didn't have family there with me. Well, after that, we had a great time doing that, and We spent many days on the beach to the point that when I came back, people didn't recognize me because I was so tan and excuse me again, my hair had bleached out to the point that it was white blonde, and one of my friends laughed at me and said that I was so dark that I looked Spanish. So that was interesting. But on the way home from Mobile Bay, for some reason, Greyhound decided that we needed to go from here in Mobile Bay in the country to Atlanta, Georgia, and then back to Nashville, Tennessee before we were allowed to go north, because apparently there was no connecting bus running this short distance, so they brought us this distance. When we got to Atlanta, there is 18 Greyhounds loading out of this bus station. My friend Amanda and I were the only two Caucasian people in the building. Everyone else was of a darker complexion. Now, I'm comfortable. My brother-in-law is African American, everything like that. But I will say, it is a little different being completely the minority. And everyone else in the building also noticed the two white kids that were super tan wearing tie-dye shirts because they just left the beach. Yeah, this is kind of a weird experience in life to go through. And we went back, got to Nashville, we were heading north, all to get to Kentucky, and we're heading out, and a FedEx truck starts coming over at us in the median on the road at the bus. And our bus driver, you can see him reacting. He's trying to slow down and get out of the way of this FedEx truck that's swerving into our lane. And he ends up hitting the back tire of our bus, the big hubcap, onto a concrete barrier on the freeway. This causes us to be stuck for 8 hours sitting in Bowling Green, Kentucky. And the entire contents of this town consists of a building the size of a very small gas station that is the Greyhound station. That's all this building consists of. So after being stuck there, we finally get back in the bus, and 18 hours later we get to Minneapolis, where we realize that we, with our delays, have missed our bus to Bemidji from Minneapolis, which only runs once every 3 days. Needless to say, we called my family, who came down from Bemidji and picked us up from the hotel room that we got comped from Greyhound, which was nice. And after 28 days on the road and $2,000 spent and thousands of people met and almost 100 different cities seen and went through, I had an experience that I would never want to relive on the bus, but I'm really glad I did live it. I guess the moral of the story is don't be afraid to do something that everyone says is going to be terrible, because even though it probably is, you're going to remember it forever, and you're going to look back and be glad that you did that trip, that time, or you did the dare, did whatever it is that you need to do. Live life to its fullest when you can, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. You got to enjoy everything you got.